Hello, good evening, welcome to another episode of Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, and for the next 2 hours, I'm going to be sat here painting my miniatures with you guys. You guys are also in the live chat. You are so nice, but so mean at the same time. So I was just reading the live chat before I came on, and you're all taking bets as to if I'm going to be early, if I'm going to be on time, if I'm going to be late. And I was like, oh, I don't know which one to be now. So I thought I'd go with fashionably late. I saw that the largest lateness was like 1 minute 30, so I thought I'd leave it for about 2.5 minutes. I apologise, as always. There is a reason, but we could call it an excuse. It's been a very long day, and I've just finished having dinner. But the fact is, I'm here now, ready to paint my miniatures. If you're new here, Easy 8 isn't a tutorial show or anything like that at all. This is literally a place where you can just come along, paint your miniatures with me. I'm getting on with it. I can see Overlord there. Get on with it. Yeah, also, go take a break, sir. Take yourself out of the room. No, stay with us. Paint your miniatures. I'm not going to show you how to do anything. I'm really rubbish, but I've just got loads of stuff to paint, and I'm sure you guys have as well. So if you're looking for a little bit of company with these guys over here who are being really mean today, then you can come along and paint your stuff. Do you know what? If they're being mean to you, come and join me and let them, let the bully stay over there. Anyway, if you're working on a project this evening, I would love to know about it. I genuinely am motivated and inspired by the stuff that you do. So come and show some pictures if you want to. We're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook as well. We're on Instagram and we're on Discord at the end of the show if you want to come and have a chat with me. And any of these guys over here who might come and decide to be mean to me on live camera, you can join that later on as well if you want to. There are links to all of our platforms just down there. Go and check all of those out and share some pictures of the stuff that you're working on. I would love to see what it is that you are working on. The last couple of weeks, I've been working on a 28mm German Tiger, or King Tiger, sorry. And I've really been trying to practice the camouflage colours because I'm rubbish at it. I've never been good at painting camouflage patterns is where I really struggle with. Trying to make it look like it's random, but actually trying to plan it's really difficult. I've also been trying to teach myself like appropriate colour use as well. And I'm really happy with where I've got to. Here it is so far. You can see there, I'm really chuffed with that. It's a little bit shiny at the moment because I sealed it all up with a gloss varnish. The reason that I used gloss varnish is so it's easier for me to see where I've actually covered it. A lot of the paintwork was coming off when I was handling it, which is just because I've got brutish fingers, really. So it was to try and seal it all in, protect it. But also, I'm going to put decals on later on, so all the symbols and numbers and stuff. And it is, some people say it's better to do it over gloss varnish. The gloss varnish is a little bit rough on this because it is a 3D print. It has some texture to it in some places, so the gloss I don't think is going to really help all that much. And I think it is better if you paint the gloss varnish on. I've used an airbrush, so, whatever. But the fact is, it's easier for me to see where it is. Those decals are not here yet. I have ordered them. I've been shopping around for a few bits and pieces. They're not here, but it's okay because I want to take a break from that for a week anyway. And I've got another little miniature just here that I just want to kind of get started on, break it up a little bit. Been doing a lot of historical stuff lately. I do like to change the pace a little bit when I'm, been working on something for a little while. Anyway. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing to the show. We're at a phenomenal number of 168 subscribers, and I never thought that I'd ever get above like 20. So thank you very much if you have already subscribed. If you're watching the show and you haven't subscribed, if you do enjoy genuinely what we're doing here, then please do subscribe. It would really make my day if you did. It's such a small gesture from you, but it really means the world to me. I know a lot of YouTubers say that, but it's because we mean it, and it's a really big deal. And if it's not doing things for you, let me know what it is that I could do that's different, that you would like to subscribe to, something that I'm not doing, and I'll see if I can do it for you. But it's just a nice place to bring people together. There's a day in the week aside from the show where I have friends that come over to play games, and it's nice being the reason that people get together. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, what is it that I enjoy so much about doing the show, having my friends over? And the reason that people get together, be it like you come and watch the show here and you paint your miniatures, or you come to your friend's house to go and play games or whatever it is. It's nice to bring people together, and that's what the show's all about. So if you know someone out there who is struggling to get through their miniature hoard that they haven't painted yet, or they're just looking for a bit of company to enjoy while they're painting their miniatures, let them know about Easy 8 and bring them on over. Share them the link, and bring them into part of the family. That'd be cool, right? Follow us on Facebook. Do a little thumbs up for the video, leave a little comment down there. Everything that you do that interacts with this show on this channel helps the algorithm spread Easy out into the big wide world. All hail the algorithm. I don't pretend to know how it works, but the more that you interact with me here on the show in all the different ways makes it just better for everybody. So that'd be great. Anyway, having a little look through all the comments that are going in the live chat, there's a lot of targeted bullying going on in here. I jest. Bullying is such a nasty word, but Adrian seems happy. The crowd goes wild, but Overlord, he doesn't like me today. Hi guys, thank you very much. We've got Adrian, we've got Stafford, we've got Overlord Games, who was Grant, we've got Kez as well. Just making sure that I haven't missed anybody off. That seems everyone in the live chat. Thanks for coming along, and if you're one of the viewers that likes to stay quiet, hi, how are you doing? Table of Horrors says, I've used Streaking Grind for the first time ever on a Marine today. Really nice results, but might be a bit much for my regular infantry. Do you know what? I'm really fascinated by the whole grimdark style that people have been exploring over the last few years. I have myself had a good go at it as well. Behind me, I've got a Gazgul model just up there that I painted for the last October challenge. With John Takax from Out This World Models and Minis. There's a link to his show just down there. Go check him out because he's a wonderful dude with a wonderful show. And I did a little Space Marine that is in one of my collections up there behind the camera somewhere. And it is very easy to overdo the amount of streaking grime to put on the model, and you basically spray loads of the stuff on or paint loads of the stuff on, and then you use white spirit or thinners to remove most of it and leave the grime on the model. And I've found on all of the instances where I've had a go that it's very easy to put too much on. I've in both instances covered the whole model, kind of let it sort of air dry, and then removed it. And I think it's probably better, from what I've experienced, to do a piece at a time. So maybe like start with an arm, then move to the other arm, and then just kind of work your way over the miniature. If you're doing a humanoid figure, if you're doing a vehicle, do it piece by piece, you know, and see how it works differently. I think that when I sprayed my miniatures, it turned completely dark brown, and it dried a little bit, and I think that it had set too much, so it was too difficult for me to remove most of what I wanted to remove. So yeah, on one of them I sprayed it. I think the other one I might have even painted it on. Maybe it's one of those instances where less is more. But then everyone's tastes is all different because, you know, art is subjective. So basically, explore it and see what you think. And I'm glad to see that you're having a good time with it. I want to do more grimdark stuff. I'm glad we're talking about grimdark because the model that I'm going to be painting today, I started painting before I really did much with grimdark. I wanted to get that gritty, rough feeling, but without using that technique. For those of you that are wondering what the grimdark technique is, there is a product called Streaking Grime. It is a technical weathering paint that was made for not elite model painters, but it's a very technical thing that people can step up their game to work up to. It's something to develop into, and the idea is that you would paint some of it on. It's enamel based, so it requires an oil based thinner, like a white spirit or an odorless thinner, and then you wet your clean brush with the thinner and then basically streak it, wipe it away in a direction that you want it to wipe into, mostly like where water would run over rivets or machine parts and things. And it's a really, really wonderful, very, very realistic effect. People have started to realise that if you want to make something look very artistically gritty and dark and grimy, you can paint your whole model with it, remove most of it, and you leave behind this really cool dark and gritty feeling. And it's called Grimdark because it plays into Warhammer 40,000, which is in the Grimdark universe. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing. I haven't got it dialed in yet, but I do like it, and there are some wonderful Facebook groups out there which you should go and check out. Anyway, look, I'm going a bit ahead of myself. I'm going to take you over now to my workbench. Here we go. So the model I'm going to be doing today is this little model. This is from the Warhammer 40,000 collection. This is one of the Adeptus Mechanicus Ironstriders, in short, in its full, Ironstrider Balisarii. I really like that name. I don't know if it means anything. It sounds cool as anything. The reason I like this particular model and this army, the collection of miniatures in this army, is because it's just completely out there. It's off the scale bonkers, and it really dials into or taps into the steampunk aesthetic, which is just a genre that I really, really enjoy. My webcam is struggling to focus. I wonder if I can get it to focus on the model. It's a very, very highly detailed model. Come on, don't be a bummer. There we go. So we've got a dude sitting up here in his cloak and his funny goggles and whatever, sitting on top of a giant bipedal machine with big guns on the front. And if you look very carefully, there's a little machine here with some eyes and lenses and little claws. But there's also like a de-limbed other person down here, which looks like he's somehow cybernetically introduced into the rest of the machine, like he's riding an enhanced, I don't know, would it be a slave? I don't know. It's a really, really fascinating concept, a really, really cool looking model. And it's just bonkers, isn't it? There are two different versions of this model. I'm really croaky. I will apologise for that. I don't know, maybe I'm coming down with something. There's another version of this where it hasn't got the big guns on the front. It has the guy's carrying basically a lance, like he's a jouster. And I've got a background in historical reenactments. So the group that I started with many, many years ago was a jousting group. So I learned how to joust very basically. I'm not really a jouster, but I kind of had goes at it. So the concept of jousting has always kind of been something I've enjoyed, right? So the idea of having futuristic machines from Mars that joust people, it's just funny to me. It's just brilliant, and I really liked it. This model was given to me free by a friend who was just trying to clear out a lot of their collection. They had some big life changes. They moved house and things like that, and they just gave me an extensive part of their collection. And I've been painting through some of their stuff, over previous episodes on the show. And this has been one of those models that I've been wanting to get to for a while. It's been pre-built. I would probably build it in stages and then put them together after it's been painted. And a part of that process has meant that there are some little sprue bits still left on the model, some little mould lines, little sprue bits on there. And I've been, every now and again, I pick it out of the box and I have a little go at it. And I can sit there and do that for ages and ages and never really get around to it. And you know what? That means it's not really ever getting painted. And I think that's a shame. The perfectionist in me wants to sit here and take every single little sprue mark off or mould seam off of it, and it would be so much easier to do that if it was still on the sprue. No, I'm not about to sit here and chide my friend for building it and not doing all of that. This is a free model. It was, the most generous gift, and I should not sit here and say anything negative about having received free stuff. Free stuff is amazing. Thank you very much to the individual who gave it to me. You know who you are, and I'm extremely, extremely grateful. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of going over the whole miniature, just making sure that the worst of it is off, because if there's something really glaringly obvious, it will stand out and it will be so distracting, and the chances are I'll only notice it once it's all been painted and it will just look really, really obvious. So I'm just trying to get rid of the worst of it. Now I've got here the Citadel demolding tool. This looks like a knife, but it's extremely, extremely blunt. But it has like edges, basically, not sharp edges, but just where it's been stamped out or pressed out or even machined out. It's just left with a nice sort of not jaggedy edge, but just it's just a right-angled edge. And what I do is I just scrape that across the plastic bits, and it removes any of the bits that I don't want. It's essentially a blunt knife, but it's perfect for doing this little job. Some people really get on with this. Long-standing viewers will know exactly where I'm about to go with this, because I've said it before and it started off a funny conversation with some people. Some people really get on with this tool, this little deburring tool or demolding tool, and other people don't like it at all. And it's like there's no middle ground. You either hate it or you love it. I'm one of the people that swear by it. And I've always used a knife thinking, surely a knife will do the job, right? You might as well just buy a knife. Use the back edge of a knife if you want a blunt knife. But I thought one day, I had a little bit of money in my pocket. I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. It's really, really good. It's a bit like Marmite. All right, you either hate it or you love it. Now, the reason that's an old joke is because John from Out of This World Models and Minis lives in the States. Hi, John, if you're watching. As quite a few of our viewers do watch from the States. And John says that he's an Anglophile. So basically, he's really into, like, you know, British things and the English way of life, perhaps. And he's been to London a couple of times, whatever. And he always wanted to give Marmite a try. So he bought some on Amazon, and I challenged him to do, you know, a video of him trying it for the first time. A reaction review, if you will. And you can go onto his channel and you can see his reaction if you like, and find out if he liked it or not. You're such a sport, John, for that, by the way. Well done. I'm not going to tell you if you liked it or not. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's quite funny. So, I don't want to sit here and be like de-spruing or de-bearing all evening. Just as I was getting set up, I realised that there were a few little bits and pieces left on here. And I just think it's important just to make sure that you get the worst of it off. Like I say, if this was a model that I was making out of the box, I would have taken the time to cut each piece off and clean it up as I go. But actually, I just kind of want to crack on and pay homage to my friend for giving me such a lovely collection. It's quite a collection as well. Hundreds of pounds worth of stuff he gave me. There are a couple of loose bits on here, and I am expecting them to come off. There are lots of really dainty dangly bits. This little aerial on the top here has received a little bit of damage from being transported to my house, and it is bent, but it looks like it's an aerial, and I don't mind it looking a little bit bent because, you know, aerial's bent, right? So that's okay, but there's like a little stirrup or a little footplate here, and on the other side there's another one there, and they are a little bit on the wobbly side, and I am expecting those to fall off. I'm going to try and paint as much of it as I possibly can without them falling off, and I'll just glue them back in place. I just can't be bothered to do it right now. I'd rather just react to it. Now, what did I do with my little bit of sandpaper that I just had there? Put it down somewhere. I don't know what I've done with it. Never mind. There it is, right in front of my face. Okay, cool. There's a little bit of spruce on the side there. Just going to brush gently away. And I bought like a whole pack of different sandpapers from Amazon for about 6 or 7 quid, and it has like everything from like 120 grit, even 80 grit, I think, all the way down to 3,000, 6,000 perhaps. So definitely worth it. If you want like little bits of sandpaper, go and check it on Amazon. There's a little bit in there as well, which I think I might need a little knife blade for. Just inside this guy's little knee joint in there. There we go. It's actually coming away from the base a little bit as well, I think. Okay. We'll react. There's a little sprue line down there as well. Okay, one last little bit. Excellent. Do you know what? I'm not going to fuss about it too much. He's looking good. I just want to paint him up because he's such an exciting, fun model. Now, I've painted up a couple of robots from the same army. Here was my first one that I did. So you can see the colour scheme I've got is very bright. It's very orange. But I wanted to... orange and yellow colours, when I paint them, can look a little bit too toyish, look a little too comic-y, cartoony perhaps. So I really wanted to... what we talked about a minute ago, we really want to tap into that grim dark style, but without using the products that we were talking about a minute ago. So I did this really kind of battered up rusty effect with little bits of bare steel through the paintwork. You can see that he's got like a metal frame because he's a robot, yeah, but then like armor plates that are all coloured on top, and I've done all this extensive damage and rust and weather effect, and it's a little more time consuming, but it's really rewarding when you get it right, and it was really, really fun to do. Yeah, I really liked it. It was good fun. I did a second one. Here we go. You can see that through all the rust here is a little bit like worn metal. I really enjoy doing all of that. And in some places it's really, really subtle, and in other places, like on the edge of the shoulder pad here, it's a little bit more obvious. And in some places I went a little bit too far with it, I think. And in other places, you know, I kept it really, really timid. And I really enjoyed doing that. Really, really good fun. And I put like just bare metal on his knuckles because he looks like he's supposed to be punching things to bits, right? I like the idea that he's punching through buildings or something. to get people in on the inside. But the brown for the rust didn't show up on the red, so I just left it off there. So I'm going to try and do that effect on here. Now I've got some little dudes that wear orange cloaks that like would sit on the top up here. So I'm going to try and paint this guy, or the guy on top, in this colour as well. So there's going to be a lot of silver on here and a lot of orange, I think, as well. And then one of the contrast colours that we've got on there, or like an offset colour, is the red and the black. So just trying to find the places as I see appropriate or feel appropriate. Yeah, I'll just see what happens. I think that his cloak is obviously going to be orange. Oh, there's a bit of sprue in there as well. Look. I think we'll do some orange on some of these panels on here, but all of this stuff down here, all the framework will all be like hydraulics and silver, and engine things in there will be silver. Some brass work to really play off on that kind of steampunk aesthetic as well. But first thing first is I've got to prime it, but I've just noticed that really big lump of sprue in there, and that needs to go, because now that I've seen it, gotta go. Does anybody else have any free stuff that was kind of given to them, or pre-made, and did you spend the time to go over and sort of resculpt or rebuild or clean it up, or did you just go like, thanks for the free stuff, I just wanna paint it now? Okay, we're good to go. Let's just get on with it, shall we? So I need to prime. I'm going to move my cup of tea. By the way, happy weekend, everybody. Cheers. Right, I can see that people are talking about the streaking grime. Overlord Games is saying, does anyone have a link for that product? I don't have a link for it right now. I've got some of it in a drawer down here. What I will do as a part of the show, once it's processed and it's run and it is over, I can only edit the video like several hours after it's finished airing. Streaming is probably the modern word to use. But I can only do it later on. So later I will like put a link in the description. I'll even put a little card up in the top corner right now, so that you can go and find this streaking guy, or at least I'll show you on the AK website, so you can go and find other sources for yourself. First things first, I'm going to get my little sheet of paper that I like to spray stuff onto, and I'm just going to turn my compressor on. Now, last week my compressor was working around the clock. I had it on the whole evening as I was doing all the camouflage work on my tank, and there is a little leak in my compressor. It's nothing bad. I have taken my compressor apart to try and repair it. I did an alright job. I'm not a professional plumber or anything like that at all. It's very fiddly, and it still leaks a little bit. But I think because it's still leaking, it's constantly working out, overtime to always make sure that there's air in there. And it got really, really hot at the end of the last week, to the point where I had to unplug it, move it away from everything, and just make sure that it was being monitored for a little while, because I got probably a little over the top nervous about it. So I am just going to be keeping an eye on that compressor this evening. Maybe it's time for a new one. Had it for like 10 years now, maybe. How long have I been doing Easy 8? 4 years? Probably had it for a couple of years longer. Somewhere between 6 to 10 years, I reckon. Right, just cleaning out the airbrush. I did give it a bit of a clean down last week, but it needed just a bit of a wipe down there. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit of neat cleaner. Like neat cleaner is, I think it's pretty much 99.9% alcohol, with probably a little bit of lubricant for the airbrush in there, but you could just use isopropyl alcohol if you wanted to. The idea is just going to let it sit in the paint chamber for a minute, and if there's any kind of residue in there, it should just, dissolve, essentially. Gives me a chance to have a look at more of the comments. First it was the WAS, now it might be the compressor. Things like you know, they disintegrate over time. Like things get wear, right, and it's a part of it. A paintbrush will eventually wear away until it's no good to you anymore. And it's the same with, you know, machines. The little Wazomatic, the vortex mixer I had for mixing my paints. This little thing here. You put your paint in the top, push that down, and it would just, you know, vibrate aggressively to stir your paints up. You can see mine's been sat on the side for ages, it's covered in dust, but it just died on stream as well. My clippers that I use for cutting things off to sprues actually exploded live on a show a while ago. That was extremely embarrassing. As I was saying how good they were, off they went, and the compressor's going, but the compressor's still got life in it. Megatron will pay for this. I know we should work on timekeeping, says Stafford. Kez says, I'm working on the cockpits of my current mechs. Interesting. Do you paint them all in a very specific way? Because I know that in Mech Warrior, the cockpits are supposed to be coloured a specific way. And if I'm right in thinking, and I don't know much about this, but if I'm right in thinking, I think that they're supposed to be different colours depending if they're clan or in a sphere. My compressor is still going, making sure that it's okay. There we go. Or do you just like paint them different for each army? So if you've got like a different unit and unit, you're like, oh, these ones are going to have blue, these ones are going to have orange, these ones will have gold or whatever. Or is it just all the same? Steve Jenkins has joined us. Hi Steve, nice to see you again, mate. How are you doing? Are you keeping well? Table of Horror said earlier on, yeah, we're the tough kids of Easy 8. We don't change our brush water during your break. Change your paint water. Do as you're told. Bad people. Right. So, I've got a couple of choices with my primers. I've got a big pot of black. I could use black, which would be really handy for the silver because I think it works really well with silver. I've got a white, which would be really good for the orange because the orange is such a weak pigment colour that it needs the brightness behind it as an undercoat, essentially, to really let that colour show through. Or I can go middle house with a bit of grey. Now I'm finding grey a little bit lacklustre over the past sort of 12 months or so. So I've started steering away from it a little bit, really. But the white I find necessary when I'm painting low pigment colours, like I was saying, like the orange that I will paint on this guy's robes and on other parts of the machine will be orange, and it'll be very, very difficult for that orange to have any kind of vibrancy if I was to paint over a darker surface primer. But the black is really good for the silvers and basically any other colour. In fact, black is actually, I think, a preference to most painters. What I can do and what I do is that when I'm painting orange over blacks and things like that, is I will paint a little bit of Screaming Skull from Citadel. It's a really nice off-white colour. It's like an antique white, if you will. And I find that it has a really high pigment count for a slightly white colour. So by painting this over whatever colour it is that I've got, and then painting a little bit of white over the top, or an orange or whatever, this colour really does wonders. Now I'm thinking, but because this model is quite large, but there's only a few areas on it that might be orange, I think I might just do it all black and then hand paint in those other areas. What does the rest of you think? I'm just going to see if my compressor has finished compressing. It's still going. I'll just turn it off for a minute because it's quite distracting in the background. Staff says, you said doo-doo. Yeah, it's not the first time I've said that today. Steve says, what are we painting? I'm painting this model from Warhammer 40,000. It is a ludicrously over-the-top bipedal mounted gun carriage. That's probably the best description. A weird rider with no arms or legs, and then a dude at the top with a gun. He's definitely got the sweeter part of that pairing, right? The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm wondering if I've missed sprue bits now. We're all good. And apparently you're knackered in Ireland all week. Well, I hope that we bring you a little bit of entertainment. Chill out, grab yourself a grown-up juice and enjoy the show, mate. Mike's also joined us. Hi, Mike. Thanks for coming along. Yo. Kez says the inner sphere canopy glass is designed to limit light going through them to protect it against lasers. It says it gives them an orange-red glow. Not sure about the clans, but in MechWarrior Online they do them blue, which I liked. Man, that looks mental to paint. Yeah, at the moment I'm quite excited to paint it, but I think it's going to drive me mental after I've just sprayed the primer. That's the easy bit, right? Do you normally fully assemble models before you do painting or easy bits? This was given to me. I said it earlier on in the show before you came on. This was given to me as like someone clearing out the collection. So it was pre-built and I've just finished sanding some bits off of it. Normally I would do sub-assemblies. I think it's just a little bit easier to manage. This is going to be a bit bonkers. But anyway, I'm just going to go for it. I think I'm going to go white. Because, yeah, I'm going to go white. Just because I'm going to give it a bit of a shake. I've noticed that it is settled a little bit and discoloured down the bottom, just down there. I'm just going to give this a really big shake. Now, I've noticed that we're just over halfway through the show. Half an hour into the show. And I haven't even got a single paint pot open yet. Doing a lot of that. And yeah, do you know what? Maybe next week I'm going to go back to the King Tiger and finish that off. And then I'll come back to this one here. But it's just nice that while there is a natural pause in the painting schedule, nice to kind of move on to something completely different. I don't think this could be any further away from a King Tiger. Right. That's a good shake there. Excellent. Just make sure that I've got a bit of flow through the airbrush. Excellent. I'm going to turn the compressor back on because it's going to need that. We're going to do quite a bit of airbrushing here just to make sure that he's completely covered in primer. I'm just going to see if there's any dust or fluff or anything like that because he's been sat in a box under my studio desk here for a long time, and I noticed when I picked him up he was covered in cat fur and all sorts. There we go. Sounds all right. Really like the Pro Acrylic white primer. It really has a nice finish to it. I don't think I have any Pro Acrylic stuff here. I've got some inks by Liquitex. They're a really good brand. Yet to really get into those at the moment, but yeah, I've heard good things about Pro Acrylic. Okay, I've not counted my drops like I normally do. I've just stuck a load of it in there. I think I'll put a drop of thinner in. Oh, I sprayed thinner everywhere. Do you know what? I'm going to put 2 drops in. That's just airbrush thinner, and I've got my favourite flow improver. Just by the very nature of putting another liquid into the paint will thin it down. It is obviously designed to be, you know, it work alongside acrylic paint, so it's fine to put in there. But it does exactly what it says on the bottle. It improves the flow of the paint, and I think what it does is it just stops it from drying a little bit inside the paint chamber and inside the nozzle, which in turn stops it from collecting more paint and snowballing effect, basically. Just makes it come out a little bit smoother. And because primer is a little bit more rugged as a paint, it requires just a little bit more guts from the compressor, so you've got to turn the pressure up a little bit. And it's nice to have it thinned a little bit. Okay, so here we go. My compressor's still going. I'm wondering if my compressor is just fritzing now. Every now and again, I'm just going to take a little break, and I'm just going to put my hand on top of the motor and just see how hot it's getting. Because if it's getting out of hand, I don't want to have a fire in the studio. On air or off air, fires are bad. Do you know what? Out of all of the airbrush equipment, I think a compressor is actually quite affordable. Like a new airbrush can cost you a couple of £100 if you get a really, really decent one. This is just above entry level, and it's absolutely fine for me. The compressor, you can pick them up; they're reasonably affordable. I've got one with a storage tank on it. You can get compressors that just compress as you're spraying paint. It just compresses. Just going to check on the compressor. still going, but it's not hot yet. I want to know where all the air is going though. Now there's a possibility that I'm going to be doing quite a bit of spraying this evening, so I'm going to have to make sure that like compressor is not just like broken, it's just going to completely compress until it explodes. Would be the most shocking event on YouTube this week, right? There was certainly bringing some views, but I think I would be horrendously mauled. So yeah. Already being able to see some interesting details. It all starts to stand out a little bit as paint starts to go on. It's interesting to see the model take shape. Every new stage is quite exciting, and you get to see a little bit more detail perhaps. Now you could paint in continuous lines like this. I say this almost every week, don't I? But you'll see me kind of doing this, and that blows the build-up of paint that will build up on the needle tip, because inside here is a needle which paint will dry on, and by kind of pulsing, if you like, helps blow that build-up away, and it stops you getting spatter, little droplets like you'll see on the sheet. You can't really see them very well, but there are like big droplets on there, and if that goes onto the model, that could be really bad. I'm going to turn the compressor off for a minute. There we go. When my airbrush starts to lose power, I'll turn it back on again. It's not the only thing that's going wrong in the studio at the moment. I tried doing some 3D printing the other day for some stuff for work, and the hotbed that it prints onto, the temperature gauge sensor thing on there is broken, so it won't print. So there's a lot of repairs and stuff going on in the studio, and it's driving me mental. I'm a kind of guy who just wants to get on with stuff. I don't like preparing. I don't like faffing. Don't like delays. Sometimes I kind of wake up and I go, I'm going to go do this, and if I can't go and do that, I'll have a breakdown. Now, one of the things I'm aware of that's going to happen with this model is that the more I put paint on it, the more of the bits that need kind of preparation work doing are going to become more visible. Like those little lumpy bits that I've sanded away, the mould lines and things that weren't cleaned up. I can see one on top of the thigh up there. Can you see like a little line? It comes into focus. There's a little sprue line in there somewhere. Is it going to come into focus? There it is. See that line on the top of that hip? That I'm hoping will disappear when I spray the silver onto it. If it really stands out after a little bit of painting, then I will sand it down and repaint it. Yeah. It's a pre-built model, right? It's going to happen. The way I'm looking at it, and it has been a bit of a battle trying to kind of change my mindset on it, is that I'd rather have it rough and painted than not painted at all and being really rough. Wondered what the sound was outside of my soundproof headphones there. It's a hailstorm on my roof. I thought that the compressor was like going to explode, going critical. Right, naturally with a model like this there is a lot of undercrofts, so I want to make sure that everything gets a little bit of primer paint. It has been a bit yucky weather lately here in the southwest of England. Lots of rain, lots of wind, hail today. And for those of you that I know watch the show and who I work with, proud of you. Well done. Keep it up. You know who you are. I know you're watching. Am I losing air or am I losing paint? I've lost a little bit of paint. So what I'm going to do is just going to put a couple more drops in. I'm not going to really worry about the thinner or anything like that right now. I might put a drop of flow improver in. Because I've sprayed most of the model now. So I'm pretty happy with that. Just want to make sure that you can probably see here there's a couple of bits that look a little grayer than the rest of it. That's just because they got more paint on it. So make sure that everywhere gets a little bit of paint. What does a primer do? You know, it's I never used to prime my models at all, but it's a colour that will set the other colours off that go on top of it. So what I was saying about having a yellow on top of a white will really help it develop some vibrancy very, very quickly. You try painting yellow on top of black, it's really, really difficult. I've actually tried painting the orange colour on top of silver, and I got 9 layers in by brush, and I gave up and I resprayed the model. That was actually on air some episodes ago, painting some of these little guys in hoods. And that's when I realised I had to find an alternative method to deal with that. But a primer also is a rugged, rough paint that is a little bit more harder wearing than your other layers. So it means that it's going to stick. I need to turn the compressor on. It means it's going to stick to the model better when you start putting other layers on top. It's going to adhere to paint. Paint likes to adhere to paint. Tell me if I've missed a bit. Don't just say, missed a bit. No time for that. Mr. Blobby model. What do you want from? Oh, I was wondering if you wanted me to paint the Mr. Blobby model. But if I look back, I can see that I'm building again tonight. Would you possibly like to guess what it could possibly be? Says Stafford. We know that Stafford bought an absolute metric ton of model airplanes when we went to the tank museum. The only person who's ever been to a tank museum, a model show at a tank museum, and bought model planes. It was bizarre. What was even more bizarre was how many he bought. He bought a lot. Reconnecting with your childhood, huh? Good for you, man. Good for you. So I assume you're painting model airplanes, Stafford, is my guess. Not Mr. Blobby models. I think we're almost there. This now. Okay, I think I'm done. Right, I'm just gonna purge the airbrush out a minute because we've got all this primer in there that I want to clean out. Whenever I've been using primer, I always give a little drop of cleaner in there first. just a little drop or two, just because it is a slightly more aggressive paint. There we go. Turn the compressor off again before it starts melting down. Care says, my army painted paints are being very wasteful this evening after shaking, like when you shake a fizzy drink and open them. Oh look, they're kind of like bubbling out all over the place. Yeah, some of mine do that as well, and I don't know why they do that. I wonder if there's like air in there that when you're shaking it around kind of dissolves into the paint. Yeah, I hope you're not making a mess, because that can go everywhere. I hate it when you squeeze a paint out and it, rather than kind of dropping into the receptacle or whatever it is that you're trying to paint into, it just spurts out all over the table, over models that you've got lined up on the side. Emma Gilreath, hi Emma, welcome to the show. I know who you are. Says the weather has been atrocious. In Australia, if it hails, we go inside. Here in the UK, it hails, everyone just puts their jackets and hoods on and continues on. Is that because the hail in this country is like a million times smaller? Because I've seen your car destruction over there. Seen the video, says Kez. You've missed a bit. Cheers. Thanks very much. I think he's painting jam. You're sat in the bar at that hotel in Ireland, aren't you? That's what you're doing. Mike says, I think it's when they separate and you get air bubbles mixed in the medium. Okay, yeah, that makes a bit of sense, I suppose. Maybe it's a lot of factors as well. Who knows? Got some air bubbles appearing in my top of my airbrush right now. I've got to be careful of that because that will spray everywhere as well. Oh no, Steve has returned to England. Okay, you were in Ireland, knackered because you've been over there all week. Well, grab yourself a beer, man. Chill out. Relax. How was Ireland? Was it rainy and haily over there? Or has it been blissful summer? I mean, it's only across the channel from here. I assume it's been very much the same. Down here in the southwest, the weather can't make its mind up. It's either, pouring with rain one second, or it's beautifully sunny the next. You go outside in your t-shirt or your fleece top or whatever, and then it absolutely buckets down. I've developed a tiny little blockage, just going to force that through. There we go. Running out of air in the compressor as well. Lovely. Because primer's quite a thicker pigment, it builds up quite a bit on the inside of the hopper. So one of the things that I also like to do is just take the hopper off. Even though the inside of the paint chamber is pretty clean from where I've been putting the water or the cleaner inside there, I like to just kind of give the inside of the hopper a bit of a wipe over. So I'll just get this little bit of cotton here, and I'll just push it inside and just... Steve says, it's full of Irish people. Millions of them. That well-known weather type, people. Dartmoor, they had snow. Yeah, that's not uncommon either, is it? Quite high over there. Emma says the hail is definitely smaller here, but just as irritating. Bearsies. It's built up so rough down there that I've got to get this little stick in there just to kind of break that up and push that. If I didn't do that now, it could come away when I'm putting other paint or whatever in there, and it will get stuck inside the paint chamber or inside the nozzle, and that will create quite a clog, and it will make me cry. Okay. There we go. Excellent. Now, I've got a couple of choices. I could spray this whole thing silver, or I could spray the whole thing orange, because they're going to be my two dominating colours that are on here. I am tempted to spray the whole thing silver, and I know that's going to be kind of against my idea of being able to easily paint orange over the top of silver, which is like one of the hardest things to do. But I think that the areas that are going to be orange are so small in comparison to the rest of the model that I think it's probably better that I just do it that way. It's going to be easier, quicker, just to kind of get a good cover of the silver over everything. All of these, if I point with something probably a bit more appropriate than my fat fingers, all of these components here is all going to be silver with some brass pipework, some bright silver hydraulic components in there as well. And there's only these kind of like, I don't know what you'd call them, like cowlings or these fairings over the thigh here. And there's like a gun shield on the front, some bits on the feet perhaps, and this guy's cloak that are going to be orange. I might even do like the engine cowlings up here. I assume that's an engine cowling. I do that orange as well. The rest of it will be silver, so it's going to be quite a dark and sparkly. I'll be probably quite bright, the colour silver that I'm going to use. It'd be quite a sparkly model, but the orange will break it up, is where I'm trying to get at. So I'll paint it all silver, and then I'll paint the areas that are going to go orange by brush with this colour here, and I should be able to paint orange over the top again by brush. So yeah. Mike says cocktail sticks and nail polish remover are great for cleaning the sides of the airbrush. Yeah, I've got loads of that here. I just chose to not lean over and pick it up. I was just being lazy. But yeah, I haven't got nail polish remover. I've got proper cleaner, and I've got like a litre of 99% alcohol. Don't drink it. Not cool. Staff says, look, it was a model show at a tank museum, but it was a model show. I bought models, but they were planes, and we were in a tank museum. The specifics are important. Good day though. It was a good day. Okay, what time are we at? We're almost at time for a break. So before we go to break, let me get my silver paint. Do you know what? Let's prepare for a break, because I don't do this screen often enough. I've got 3 silvers for airbrush. Actually, I've got 4 silvers for airbrush. I've got gunmetal, which is a really, really dark silver, which I don't like, and I don't think I'm ever going to use it for anything. It's just not a colour that I like, and it might be down to brand. This is the Vallejo Game Air. I just don't like it. I've got nothing else to say about it. I've tried. Oh, excuse me. And it might be that there's a gunmetal colour made by another company, or even a different range of paints by Vallejo, where gunmetal just looks better. It just doesn't sit well with me. I don't like it. The other 2 colours that I've got here, both by the same range, is chainmail silver, which is my go-to quick easy silver, and then I've got simply silver. I like to use this one for everything that's kind of metalwork, like all the engine bits, all the leg bits, everything like that. Everything machiny and roboty will be in this colour here. And then I like to do like brighter parts of it, like hydraulic pistons and things, in this brighter, almost brushed aluminium colour. And the two work very well together. They don't like distract from each other, and this one does look more like a polished version of it. What I do have is, and I have tried this before, and it just looks a little bit out of place on these models, is Vallejo's metal colour. Now this is like them trying to get into true metallics, and they do loads and loads of different types. This one's called steel, so it's quite a dark silver, but they go even darker and they go really bright. They have like some like warmer tints to them, like brassy colours as well. They really, really do look like metal, and they're really good, I suppose, for doing historical things like airplanes, maybe some ships and things like that as well. But they also get used in the sci-fi realm just as much, maybe even more, with spaceships and all sorts of stuff. And they're fantastic, fantastic paints. Just a little bit lost. It's a little bit too much on models this size. And I did them all in this very, very elite silver, and it was just too much. So I went back and did it all in the other silvers. This is such a special paint that it requires its own special primer. It is black, but it's glossy. The glossiness really sets this paint off. So again, more efforts with primers. I'm not going to use this one. What I'm going to use when we come back from the break is the standard chainmail silver and the silver. I'll use that for like detailing. So I'm going to put that one away, and I'll be mixing this into the airbrush and spraying the whole thing with that silver. And that'll be for when we come back in a bit. Mike says, does the metal colour ones block the airbrush? I have been told that the metal paints, or the metallic colour paints, are very aggressive on the nozzle of your airbrush. The nozzles are actually only about this big. They're very tiny components, and they come in sets with the needles. And over a period of time, because they're they're made with basically a glitter, like a metal glitter inside, that will abrade the exit hole of the nozzle over time. I don't have problems with it collecting and being an issue inside more than any other paint, just as much. But you do obviously want to make sure that you clean your airbrush up properly so that you don't get it contaminating any other colours that you want to do. The same with any other paint. Basically, at my level, no, I don't get a problem with it. Stafford says that he's just bought a tank as well. And Mike says it's just acetone, 1 up from IPA in strength. Yeah, I hope you're not talking about Indian Pale Ale. Anyway, I'm going to disappear for a quick break. Don't be like Table of Horrors. Go and change your paint water. See you in 10. Bye-bye. Welcome back. Hope you had a good break. I only got myself a grown-up juice, my first vodka and coke for ages. This year, I think. Anyway, the weekend's here. Cheers to all of you. Thank you very much for coming along. I enjoy your company. Yep. It's stronger than I thought it was going to be. Always the case. You can't make a perfect. You can't make a perfect vodka and coke. Can't even talk now. That's how strong this is. Anyway, a few comments that were going in just over the intermission there. Christoulis has joined us. Hi, Christoulis. Nice to see you again. Hope you're doing well. What's everyone working on this week? As you can see, Kessa's working on some Battletech stuff, and I am painting one of my little Striders from the Adeptus Mechanicus from Warhammer 40,000. Absolutely love this model. I just love everything about them, like from the whole range. Even the stuff that looks really, really bizarre. I've got a couple of other miniatures on the side here that I'm going to show you that just... I love the aesthetic of it all. I think it's crazy, balmy, bonkers and wonderful. Cheers from the guys there in the live chat. Yeah, brilliant. The weekend's here. Go have a little party, but keep safe. Don't know why I put that so far away from me. That is yummy delicious. Right. So, we were talking about different types of silvers before we broke up for the break there. I'm now going to be using some chainmail silver, which is what I was talking about a minute ago. When I've got all my metal on, all the metal colour on, what I like to do is to make a little wash with basically a grey colour. Now, this is something that Kez and I have been talking about for weeks and weeks, using different recipes, but always including this particular paint. And I'm going to show you what I do with it in a minute. The reason that I use it is because I think that silver paint can look a little cheap. And that's why I ended up finding this real metal colour that I was talking about just before we broke. This is an exceptional metal colour, but it is too much, which is why I always revert back to this slightly cheaper one. I say slightly cheaper, quite a bit cheaper. The standard fantasy colour silver. But it just looks a little... I don't really know how to describe it, but basically it looks like it's got metal bits in it, and that's exactly what it is. This paint is made up of lots of little bits of metal glitter, and I think that and it does vary between brands and versions of the paint, but especially the cheaper ones can look like they've just got glitter in them, and I think it's about how small those glitter components are, how much of it there is in there, and then the quality of the medium that it sits in. Even the good ones can still look a little naff, so it's always worth doing a wash over the top of it. Now, a lot of people like to use Nuln Oil. Nuln Oil is a Citadel wash paint. It's very, very watery. It's black. I never used to like it. They changed the recipe. It's now much better. And what that does is it runs around all of the details, adds a slight filter if you add it on correctly, which tones everything down. Excuse me, but when it kind of settles around details, it kind of makes those details stand out a little bit. And this is a really good go-to for anybody kind of wanting a quick remedy to that problem. However, one of the things that I picked up from a pro online, and I think this might have been Duncan Rhodes, but I can't quite remember where from, was Basilicanum Grey. Now, this is a contrast paint. It's very similar to a wash paint, for those of you that don't know, but it's got more surface tension, which means that when you put the wash, the very, very watery paint down, it creates a filter, a very thick, not very thick, but a very congealed filter over the top. So it develops the skin very, very quickly. If you over apply it, if you over paint it, agitate it with a brush, it will dry within about 10 seconds. It will start to dry, and then you can drag that skin around and you can ruin the effect. Watering this down 50-50 with a drop, a couple drops of water or whatever, and then adding it over a silver effect really, really enhances the silver, and it really dulls down that kind of, for lack of a better term, cheapness of a silver paint, and really, really enhances its aesthetic. It's really, really good. And it was not my idea. I picked it up. I'm sure it was either Peachy or Duncan Rhodes from Games Workshop. And Kez was saying that they were, we were using different ratios or with other products like mediums and things like that. And I said, I just use water. And I think Kez is settled on the water as well. It's a really, really effective way of making your silvers look really, really cool. Null Oils Great says Overlord Games. Null, I used to use it all the time. And then when I was trying to just kind of pick my skill up a little bit, I just struggled with it. And I explored loads of other products, and then they changed the recipe and I went back to it, and I love it now. It's really good. This is just a little bit better for what I want out of my silvers. BG is the best contrast paint in my opinion. It does everything, isn't it? And doesn't it? It's so good. I went to Games Workshop and I bought loads of it because I go through it so quickly now. I've actually been contemplating when this one runs out, giving it a bit of a clean out and then pre-mixing. So I've got a pre-mix thing to go to, so I don't have to sit there and make it in my palette all the time. Water did work better than medium, says Kez. Cool, brilliant. Look at that. We're learning stuff together. Love it. Anyway, if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. I don't know why I sung that, but subscribing is the way forwards to make this community bigger and better. It's for you guys and for the people who haven't found it yet. It's somewhere for you to come and carve out a couple of hours a week to do the hobby that we are all a part of and that we all enjoy. I don't care what people say about it. Nerds are cool, man. Come and paint whatever it is that you want to bring. Do you know what? Heck, you don't even have to be painting. Just come along for the chat if you want to. That's what it's here. That's what it's all about. It's just getting people together. So cheers to that. 168 subscribers. I said if you can get to 200 subscribers, I'll let the cats in the studio live on air. And they eat everything. I'll let them in if you get to 200. But we're so close to 170. Get me to 170 before March. Go on, guys. You can do it. I'd love that. Kez says, I have a pot of pre-made BG and water. We're going to need to give that a name like, Easy 8 sauce or something like that. I don't know. Come up with something better than that, please. Anyway, back to the workbench. Here we go. Right, so here is the model that needs painting. I've got some loose bits on here that are really starting to bug me. Eventually they'll come off. I'm not going to pull them off now. I just want to paint some stuff. Before I go on to that though, other models that I like that would come in the box that my friend gave me is this like crawling tank thing. Isn't it cool? I love it. It's so ridiculous. It's a spider tank thing. I love tanks. Tanks are wicked. But I love the fact this one's got legs. I love the fact that it's probably, if you were to make this for real, it's probably utterly useless. My friend who built it has made it so that the limbs all still move on it so you can position it how you want to. It's got little hinged doors for missile launchers on the front. That's so cool. It's got guns on it that I think might even go up. Oh, go up and come off. Breaking that. Yeah, cool. Moving on. Easy 8 Breaking Things Club. Fantastic. We'll put this over here in the sort that out later filing cabinet. My friend was painting some of the models and he's a very, very good painter. He paints in a very, very different style than I do. But that doesn't mean he's not as good. I think he's better. This is one of his pre-painted models. He's done like some parts of all the machine bits in here, like this fun tan colour. That sandy colour, and I think that really, really works. He's gone for like a classic Martian red thing, as where mine are orange because I wanted them to be different. The gun still moves. That's really cool there. Isn't that wicked? He's even like hand painted hazard stripes on this little thing on the side in there. Absolutely love it. He's a really, really talented painter. Freestyled some of the lettering on the sides there. Freestyled all the iconography on the front. There's some glow effects here that have been done in a very different way that I like to try to do my glow effects. I'm still not very good at that. Beautiful models. Really well painted. I didn't want to paint over it because, well, it would ruin it. Unfortunately, it's a little broken area there, so I've got a few repair jobs to do there. Anyway, just kind of wanted to show that off because I think it's a fantastic model. So what I'll do is I'll eventually have my one painted up beside it. You'll be able to see the difference between the two. Anyway, that's the Dune Crawler because, got to give it a cool name, right? Anyway, let's get some chainmail silver on the go. My compressor, I was listening to it when I had my headphones off during the break, has a leak in it. It is hissing gently enough that it has completely run out of air in the break. So, yeah, we'll have to make sure that I have another look at trying to repair that or get a new compressor. Is that Steve taking his leave for now? Off for my tea now, you lovely people. See you next time. Cheers, Steve. Thanks for coming along, mate. Take care, have a good week, and make sure you rest up, yeah? I'm going to put a couple of drops in here, and I'm going to put a little bit of flow improver in too, to make sure that it comes out nice and smooth. Pop my pots over there as well. Table of Horror says, I prefer Agrax to Nuln Oil usually, but Nuln is a lot nicer on silvers. Yes and no. I love Agrax Airshade, especially since they changed the recipe. I love Agrax. I used to use it on my Tyranids. I started using Seraphim Sepia because it was a slightly lighter and warmer colour than Agrax. But I'm thinking about moving back to Agrax because I want my Tyranids to look a little bit grittier because of that whole comic-y appeal with the yellow and oranges and those brighter colours. But to say that Agrax doesn't have its place on metal, I know that's not what you're saying, but I think it looks really, really good on metals. But it does give it a dirty look or an oily look, and I think that's where it should be used. If you want to just kind of accentuate metals, then black or Nuln Oil is definitely the product for you. But Agrax can make it look, and Seraphim Sepia as well, can make them look sort of oily, gritty and grimy. Yeah. Cool effects to consider. Actually, you know what? I should probably get some air in my airbrush before I try a test spray. I'll just let that charge up for a second. Darren has joined us. Hi Darren, how are you doing, mate? Thanks for coming along. Are you painting anything this evening, or are you just enjoying the weekend? Cheers. Yum yum. Just wait for that airflow. There it is. Got some bubbles developing in the hopper there, and that's probably because there's a little bit of detritus inside the paint chamber. So for £1 million I went and bought a cap for the hopper. They're really expensive. Pop that on top there. Has a little hole in the top just to allow air to, it doesn't create a vacuum and then just crush itself later on. So I do want to watch out for a little bit of paint coming out over the top. That's just going to stop it from bubbling over and creating a silvery mess. Silver paint just gets everywhere. My dad calls it a notorious crawler, and he ain't half wrong. Just chilling, says Darren. Cool. You're welcome just to chill too. It's your weekend, man. You do with it as you want. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna start from the feet, and I'm gonna work my way up. I think if I start on this side here, and I'm just gonna spray everything, even if I think it's gonna be orange or like brushed steel for the hydraulic, the bright bits later on. I'm going to hit it all with silver. It's basically going to be my base colour. Basically my base colour. That was a happy accident of words. The silver is struggling to come out of the nozzle. Here we go. Starting to encounter my problems with the airbrush tonight. Gonna clean the little needle off there. Could be a little bit of build up on the needle tip. There we go. Oh, that seems to have done a bit better. If you guys are working on something this evening, what are you working on? And how is it going? let me know. Are you struggling? Are you having is it an easy evening? Have you done something that looks particularly cool? And to answer Darren's question, what is that? This is called an Ironstrider, or more specifically, an Ironstrider Balisarii. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool as anything. And it's basically just a light and fast weapons platform for the Martians in Warhammer 40,000. One of my favourite things about Warhammer 40,000. I really like the steampunk feel. Because it's just crazy and bonkers. Do you know what? I know that thigh plate is going to be orange, so I'm going to deliberately avoid it. If I get some silver on it, that's fine. But I don't think that I need to go and paint it. So I'm going to leave it for now. Like I say, if I get some overspray in there, that's fine, that's okay. There's no point in deliberately making my life harder later on. There's a lot in here that I think I'm going to paint different than the silver. There's a guy with overalls on for starters, and I think the overall colours on these gents is like a blue colour. Do you see inside there? That kind of bluey purpley colour. And I think I'll just have him sat in that colour. And these bits that are coming off are all going to be machine parts, so that could be silver. And he's sat on very uncomfortably. He's leaning on his sternum on what looks like a box girder. that's going to do him some issues in his chest. Behind him, some sort of engine. So I'll get that all silvered. Darren says, "I do like walkers. Looks cool as." Yeah, I know. I love it. See, I love doing historical stuff because I just think historical stuff is fascinating, and it's it's history, man, and I think it's important that everyone learns it. And I've learned so much history through my hobby, which I think is cool. But I also like stuff that's just completely outrageous and nerdy. I feel like I'm justifying myself. I'm not at all. I'm just trying to say, like, it's cool, right? Already starting to come alive now, starting to look at all these mechanical components, pistons and funky girders and feet bits. They're supposed to in the lore, because in the game they come with like rules to play the game, but they also come with like story and how they're used, and where they come from and their battlefield roles or whatever. And that's like that like appeals to an entirely different person as well. Like, you can enjoy the game for the game, but you can also enjoy it for all the story stuff. But these guys are supposed to have like they're supposed to come out of clouds of incense, like ludicrous amounts of incense and smoke. So you never know where they're going to come from. And I think that's what these things are supposed to represent on their legs, is that they're like smoke deploying efforts, because they're a zealously religious army or group of people, and they think that they're fighting for some sort of machine god. and they're basically subliminally brainwashed and programmed to be religious warriors, or people that sit in a mothership in orbit of the planet that they're fighting, so that they, you know, incense is their smoke of choice, not white phosphor but sandalwood. And then you get the weapon platforms which have got guns on like this, but then there's also the ones with the lances that kind of come out and joust you. Like I said, bonkers, right? Getting quite difficult now to be delicate and painting around the areas that I know are going to be orange, but I've got a way to kind of tidy that up later on, and that's going to be using that off-white colour by brush later on. But I am just trying to take the time to limit the area that I hit with the silver, just so it's less cleanup to do later on. Again, just trying to make life a little bit easier for myself. Like trying to get in and around underneath this guy's cloak and his legs and his shoes and whatever. There's no way that I'm just going to be able to spray the silver neatly around it. I'm going to get something on him eventually, like just there. But I'll tidy it up later on. Oops, don't drop it, crikey. I think I've just run out of paint. Let's see the damage inside here. Oh, not so bad. Okay, let's get some more paint. Have you ever smelt sandalwood? I have, as an incense. I don't know if it's like... if the incense smell is supposed to like replicate something that's like hideous or something. Sandalwood's actually my favourite smell of incense, which is probably why I said it. I use it in my beard balm as well. That's beard balm, I said that weird. Beard balm. Incense would be deployed from sensors. Yeah, I knew that. I just like the concept of it. Like the fact that they've got religious warriors that use incense as a white phosphorus smoke. I think it's just brilliant. And in the widely accepted theory of the multiple universe hypothesis, it's real. They exist, right? Crazy. I think that that's looking a little bit thick and gloopy, so I'm gonna put another bit of flow improver in, and that might be why I was struggling to get the flow around a little bit a minute ago. So yeah, there we go. Let's give that a bit more. It's a very different quality paint than all the other paints I've got. It's very thick. It'll go through the airbrush fine, but all my other paints are runny like milk. An airbrush paint, the perfect consistency to get through is to the consistency of milk, which has a little bit more viscosity than water, ever so slightly. Now, some paints are thicker, some paints are thinner. When they're thinner, there's not really an awful lot you can do about it apart from do multiple coats and hope that it covers. Thicker paints, you can thin them down. If they're too thick, they won't go through. When I first got my airbrush, I thought I was using airbrush paints. I was not. And I was causing myself all sorts of problems. And I thought, what sort of a hobby have I got myself into? I just spent a lot of money on all the equipment took me months to realise what I was doing. A quick obligatory check of the overheating compressor. Okay, the heatsink is getting quite uncomfortable to touch now, so I'm just going to bear that in mind while I'm painting away here. The compressor sitting on the floor here does vibrate through into the living room that is beneath me, and it is really quite an obnoxious noise. So my partner is probably getting quite annoyed with me right now. Silver, such a mucky paint. I really don't like it at all, but when it's applied well, it looks really good. Now these guys have got metal boots, so the guy is actually sitting on the top has actually got boots, the other guy's had his legs amputated. More specifically, these guys in the lore of their universe are supposed to be amputated deliberately, so they are either indoctrinated into their army, or they're like prisoners that are like just kind of serving out their life as a prisoner. Their arms and legs are amputated and replaced with cybernetic enhancements to make them even better. And then they're kind of like brainwashed and reprogrammed and all sorts. It's quite horrific, really, but grimdark. We were talking about that earlier on. Not only is the aesthetic grimdark, but the universe itself is pretty. It's an apocalyptic universe. Not a nice place to be. If you haven't already worked that out. I think I've got my ratio of paint and thinners a little bit off. It's not working so well on this pass. I think I've made it a little bit more watery. It's kind of running away a little bit. It might help to try and get it in some areas that are normally hard to reach. Maybe it'll kind of blast in or run in. But yeah, it's not behaving in a way that I'm particularly happy with. Just seeing some areas that I've kind of painted a little bit too thin, so I'm just going back over them as I move the model around. I can see a couple of bits. I'll just revisit and just kind of catch them with a second pass. Starting to feel a little less intimidated by the whole, task of painting this miniature. Like Steve said earlier on, it looks a little, looks like quite a pain to paint, and I've been quite intimidated in the past by miniatures and looking at the amount of detail that's on them. But when I did the Orc for October, when I did Gazgul, he was a really intimidating miniature to behold. And when I got painting him, I realised that actually it was much easier than I thought it was going to be. Trying to, you know, free my mind a little bit and realise that actually what might look really difficult is actually not as difficult as it might seem. Experiencing some blockages here. Stafford says, I need to invest in an Easy 8 Dry-O-Matic. See you later, says Emma. Off to have dinner. Enjoy the rest of your painting. Thanks very much for coming along, Emma. It's really nice to see you in the live chat. Have a lovely evening, mate. Cheers. We've had a nice little turnout in the live chat tonight, haven't we? Some new faces. Some old faces. Some lively chat. A little bit of hazing at the beginning. I hope it was hazing and not just straight out bullying, because it feels so picked on. But you're right. I'm often late nowadays. That's who I am, man. I'm going to change who I am for you guys. I am so sorry that I'm late sometimes. Oftentimes. You know, we got lives and it's difficult to run a show sometimes in and around those lives. And today has been, without getting into it too much, a bit testing today. There were some things that occurred very early that had knock-on effects throughout the day. Not going to get stuck on that now. Now, I'm getting quite close to finishing the silver bits on it, and I'm quite aware that there might be bits that I miss. I will come back over a little bit later on and just make sure, this might be tomorrow, in you know, with a fresh set of eyes and in a new day, and just make sure that I've got the, you know, the majority or I suppose all of it kind of painted and covered. And as I progress through the model, I might find that there are some areas that I've missed because they're inside and in around and awkward undercrofts or whatever, and I'll just try to paint them as I go. What I want to move on to, just to kind of keep the show a little bit more interesting than just me painting some white and silver for the day, is to have a little go at the Basilicanum Grey, and also show you how effective the off-white colour is for going over the top of silvers, and therefore dark colours as well. If it can paint over a metallic colour, it can paint over anything, frankly. Almost there. Everybody else's paint job's going well this evening? All having a good time, all being successful? Anyone struggling? Anyone need any help? Can anyone in the live chat or in the comments provide you with some help, advice, assistance? Or come and let us know how good it's going. Maybe you're having a really good evening. I'm having a lovely evening. Sometimes it's a grind, innit? And it's a hobby, and you're like, why am I doing this? It's so difficult. And like, I feel you, man. That's why I made this show, is to help you get through those bits, because sometimes you just got to do the bit that's hard. Like, Stafford doesn't even enjoy painting at all, do you, Stafford? Or maybe you do now, because you've got so much more painted than I have done, and it's my show. Some of you guys have been absolutely ploughing through stuff recently, and just you know, over the time of Easy 8, the amount of success stories you guys have been telling me. Kez is one of them. Like, it's just like me. Kez had so much stuff, and has been buying more stuff as well. And you're literally just getting it done, and I admire that. Well done to you. For some of you, the hobby might just be the painting or the building side of it, and that's fine too, right? For some of us, it's just the gaming, and just, you know, don't really enjoy painting it, and it's just something that you kind of want to get done to a minimum degree, maybe, just to kind of get your stuff on a table and play games with your friends and be entertained. I'm a little bit both. Do you know, when I first started the hobby was because my dad, Jeff, who's not with us in the live chat today, you know, has a whole history past of making models, whatever. That's why he's got Purple Lion Creations, you know, his own website, his own business where he makes models for people. And very talented he is too. So naturally, I kind of fell into that realm. So when people were telling me when I was at school they were like playing Warhammer 40,000 is what they were all getting into because they were young lads, that's what they enjoyed. I started buying them too, or getting my dad to buy them because I was young, and painting them just because I liked them. I didn't know anything about it all. And then one day my best friend said to me, do you want to come and play with the rest of us? We're going to have a game after school. Come and play a game of Warhammer 40,000. And I was like, yeah, all right then, see what it's all about. And I borrowed some of my friend's stuff and I absolutely loved it. It was just brilliant fun. I got a whooping. I got like one tiny little patch to paint up there and I ran out of paint. That is the way of it, isn't it? Do you know what? I'm not going to bother putting any more paint in right now. I'm just going to put the little needle protector back on there. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit of water into my airbrush and wash that through, and I'm going to give them a good wash out tonight after the show. Just flush that through. I'm going to turn my compressor off because I can sense it's getting really quite warm over there and I don't think I'm going to need it now for the rest of the evening, because the rest I'm going to do by brush. Finish for the evening, says Kez. Varnish is the next step for another day. I suppose you use varnish in a spray can, or do you do it by brush? Because I know that you don't have an airbrush, so it must be one of the other two. Spray can's the easiest and quickest way of doing it, right? But don't use purity seal. I'm not going to tell you to use or not use anything other than purity seal from Citadel. Don't use it. It's awful. For starters, it's a semi-gloss, a satin gloss, and I just don't think that's appropriate for everything. I think if you're going to have a catch-all or something, it should be matte, but that's my personal opinion. But it's so easy to get purity seal wrong, and I hope Citadel are listening. Sort it out. It's an awful product. If the humidity is wrong, it will frostbite your miniatures and it will stay like that. And I've seen it happen. Unfortunately, I've never used it to have that happen to me, but it happened to my friend who took a break from the hobby, wanted to get back into it, bought a squad of Space Marines to paint, did them up in a sort of a quick and easy fashion, but had a lot of fun doing it, wanted to protect them, sprayed them with purity seal, and they all went white. And he was so naffed off. I think that was the beginning of the end of the hobby for him, and it was really sad to see. Yeah, there are better things out there. It's a topic for a whole other day, perhaps, but yeah, purity seal, just don't use it. It's one of the reasons why I got an hairbrush. Got so much more control over what's going on my models. Yeah, anyway, went off a bit of an aggressive tangent there. Staff says, nope, I hate the painting, but I love the building. I still dislike painting, but getting stuff painted because of this show. Thank you, Danny. You're more than welcome. And I wasn't like hunting for praise there or anything. I'm just really glad that the show is useful to people. Kez also says, yeah, it's all thanks to Easy 8 motivating me. Yay. Winning. Whiskey. I noticed in the live chat during the break that Stafford was drinking with a knife in his hand. Kez says the knife could be made of rubber and with you it still might not end well. Maybe put the knife down and continue drinking. Varnish with a spray can, says Kez, I use Army Painter Satin. Yeah, do you know what? Army Painter is really good. I was just out of reach tonight. During the show I never get out of the chair, but I've got matte finish Army Painter. Brilliant stuff, really brilliant. Just give it a good shake, obviously. Army Painter is a wicked brand to use, yeah, for sure. And in fact, if you are into Army Painter and you want to get supplies, go and check out Overlord Games. He's in the live chat right now, or at least was earlier on. The guy's called Grant. He's a really, really cool guy. and he sells lots of products, mostly 15mm war game stuff for things like Flames of War, Water Tanker, things like that. But he's also selling lots of stuff from Army Painter. So if it's something that he doesn't supply, get in contact with him, drop him a line, because I'm sure he'll be willing to help you out. And you know what? It's always nice supporting the little guys, right? But Grant isn't a little guy. He's actually starting to expand his horizons, and he's starting to produce work on YouTube as well. We're doing a lot of work together. I'm not just kind of saying this because we work together. I just think it's worth shouting people out, right? But he's starting to do little tutorial videos on things like Flames of War, and they're really good quality. So go and check out Overlord Games. There is a link down there. Go check him out. Right, let's talk about the things that I was talking about earlier. Wow, you can tell this isn't scripted, right? Let's get rid of this. Yucky, gross. Right, I want to do some orange painting later. Painting orange, so I've got, this is the orange that I use here. It's quite a dark orange. Nope, that's a red. Here's the two oranges I've got. There's a really bright one, there's a dark one. I don't use the bright one, get rid of that. I use this one here. It's hot orange, or Naranja Tostado. If I'm going to destroy a language, I'll do it on the internet. Sorry, Spanish people, or anybody else that enjoys that language. Naranja, I know it's Naranja Tostado. Hot orange is a really nice colour, but it covers over like rubbish. Beautiful colour, but you really need a bright primer, and metal is not a bright primer. It's awful, and this just will not cover it. This is also an airbrush paint, so it's much thinner than your standard paints, and I was trying to do that by brush, so I bought the brush version of the same colour. So here we go, brush, airbrush, so that I can apply it. When I've been spraying the whole model silver or darker colours or whatever, I can go in by brush. It still isn't enough, so I'm going to use Citadel Screaming Skull. I just want to make sure that I haven't got another one that's already opened. Nope, brilliant, cool. So I'm going to give this a shake, because it does separate and you kind of get like an inky blue colour in there sometimes. Give it a shake. It's a really nice paint. And it's just like an off-white colour. But white isn't as useful. In fact, I'm going to say that white's almost useless for this. I'm going to give it a shake, open it up. Oh, excuse me, got the hiccups. And you can see the difference between white and off-white. There's a white ink, for example. So that's how like ivory colour it is. I use it for bone, for parchment, and for priming for where bright colours are going to go. Going to get me a brush. I'll get my little number 0. Here we go. It does need a little bit of thinning down with a bit of water, so I'm just going to scoop a little bit out here, and I'm going to pop it in with palettes on the side. Get a bit more than that. Okay. Doesn't need a lot of thinning. Just a little bit easier to control, and you don't want it going on too thick because it's going to leave texture. Yeah. Just going to put that over there. Add just a touch of water. Lush. I should have this is going to go on silky, creamy, smooth. Even if you've been mixing your paints with water, wash your brush out. You don't have to. It's just a word of advice, right? I don't know if I'm the sort of person to be given advice. That means that you look after your brushes. Okay, so I was thinking about painting the cowlings on the engine exhaust. I assume they're exhausts. See if I can get the focus in. Focus. Oh, there it is. So this cowling here, as you can see, it's been half sprayed silver. So I want to paint that orange later on. So I think I want to paint it orange. I might want to paint it red. I'm not entirely sure yet. But for now, I'm just going to hit it with some of this off-white colour. Now you can see, as I'm painting it on, the white behind it is making this off-white really pop. And then when it's going over the silver colour, it's just a little bit darker. It might require a second coat. You might be happy with this as a first coat, because remember, this isn't the colour it's going to be. This is basically a primer setting the stage for the orange that's going to go on there, or whatever colour you want to go on. For some reason, this colour, I don't know if it's this colour or if it's this brand of this colour, this is a Citadel one, is just, the pigment count in it is just really good. But normally, And again, this is in my experience. Normally, pigment means thickness. So then you have to thin it down, which then means it loses its opacity. But it goes on quite transparent. So I don't know what it is about this paint, but it does a really sound job of it. And it's my favourite method of just kind of going in and neating up areas like this, where you want to put a bright colour on a dark or metallic background. There we go. I genuinely don't know what it is that makes this colour so good, but I like it. There we go. And that's ready for me to put my orange on top of. I might want to give it another coat. I'm not going to bother. Waz it! I can't waz it. Too soon. Sad days. Tiny drop of water in my brush there. There we go. Do a bit more. Staff says, knife down, whiskey up. Whiskey. I think painting is finished for the night. Yeah, chill out, man. Relax and enjoy your Friday, right? Okay, this side here. I really enjoy airbrushing. It makes me feel like I know what I'm doing, and I really, really don't. But when I've been airbrushing for a while, and I've been airbrushing for a few weeks now because I've been doing a lot on the Tiger, and obviously this tonight, it's when I pick up the brush, I really feel like I'm connecting with, you know, with the hobby. Really enjoy just spending a little bit of time just painting this tiny, like, 1 inch by ½ inch section. One of the things that I'm trying to teach myself in the, you know, with the thought of self-betterment, trying to improve my skill, is learning to be patient and paint a small piece at a time. Like, you see a lot of pro painters who paint like amazing pieces, and it's because that they just spend an hour on this. And like, when you consider that's an hour for that, an hour for that, an hour for that, and an hour for that, it's already 4 hours just painting 4 panels. You know, it's the patience with it is crazy. But I've got a collection that's so big that I just kind of want to get paint on it and make it look half decent. And every now and again, I'm sure I'll come across a piece where I'm gonna think, oh, do you know what? I'll really do this little bit justice. Because I'm a war gamer, I like to paint my stuff and go play a game with it, win or lose, have some fun, make some memories with my friends, right? So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I've got armies to paint, and I want to make them look really cool, but at the same time I want to get them all done, so I've got to make them all look cool, and I've just not got enough time in my life to be able to do that. There we go. Now I'm fairly certain that's the colour that Dave had used on his Dune Crawler's legs. My mate Dave is the guy who gave me these models, and I think he's painted them or like washed them with a darker colour perhaps. Oh no, it does look like a different colour, doesn't it? It's much darker. Yeah. So I could paint these leg cowlings. I think I will do later on. But one of the things I definitely want to do is paint this guy's robes. Now the outside of them is going to be orange, and they are lined with a dark red. So I will leave this part of the robe here, and I'm going to do the outside bits in this white or off-white, so that I can paint orange over it later on. I don't have to do too much here. I haven't got an awful lot of overspray on this side here. I just want to make sure that, again, I'm just setting the stage for that colour. On this side, again, there's a couple of spattery bits at the bottom of his cloak that I just want to make sure don't show through the orange when it goes on. There we go. And this section here, I'll come into the middle of the shot a bit better. This section here is the inside flapping open, So I'm going to paint that red. It doesn't need this orange. Sorry, this off-white colour where the orange is going to go. Again, just going to paint his sleeve there. And I'll do his hood as well, why not? Kez says, you really should get a vortex, it's worth it. Do you know what? I'd love to see it in action. I know we did that with the light and it's asking you to kind of come around or me to kind of visit you and have a little look at it. But sometimes it's just really nice to have a quick hands-on go with it. Because I do want one, but it's quite expensive, isn't it? It's like 90 quid or something in the UK. And while I can afford that, it's a penny outlay for a small thing. And I just kind of want to like have a go. Because my little vortex mixer, my little Wazomatic, worked very well, but I know a vortex mixer would work better. But I just kind of want to see how much better. Is it worth the investment of £100 or whatever it is? Christula says, I second the vortex. Saw a lightning deal for one and haven't regretted it one bit. Okay, so sure, I will bring it around. Cheers, mate. I really appreciate that. That's really generous. Thank you very much. What colour do you think that I should do the gun shield here on the front? Now, my main colours are obviously silver for all the metalwork, which I don't want to do out because the gun's going to be silver and black, yeah. Like the gun on the robot here, for example. You can see that the gun casing, the housing, if you like, is black. The gun is silver, yeah. Should it be orange? Should it be red? Should it be black? I don't think it should be black. I think orange might be a bit too much. Red might be a nice accent colour. I don't know. Maybe it should be orange. Because they're like, this will be orange. Maybe the feet will be orange as well, perhaps. Maybe they won't be. But we've got the cowlings over here. That'll be orange. Maybe it should be orange. I'll paint it a bit of this skull colour. In preparation for whatever colour's going to go on there. Because you can see that quite a bit of silver's on there. Now it has a border trim on it as well, which I'm going to leave metallic because I think that I will paint like a brass or a gold colour on there. And you can paint metallic over metallic quite well. In fact, painting a brass or a bronze colour on top of a silver is quite effective. I'm going to paint it a gold colour. And then tone it down with some Agrax or sepia, I think I use. And it will make it look quite brassy. It's going on to a little thicker than I want it to, so I'm going to add a tiny drop of water to my paintbrush. Mix that around a little bit. There we go. That should be a bit better now. Actually, a little too much the other way. Better paint in the paintbrush. I think that's perfect. Paint it orange. If you don't like it, go over it in red. Yeah, do you know what? That's a good idea. Stafford's recalling the early days. Brassy Brass. I don't actually use Brassy Brass a lot, but it is a great name for a paint. That is going back into the very early days of Easy 8's existence. So the reason that red's an accent colour with this army is that they're not Martians, they don't come from Mars. They come from Riser, which is supposed to be very similar to Mars in its appearance, I suppose. But it's kind of very orangey rather than red. So their colour that they paint their uniforms or whatever is all orange, as a camouflage perhaps? As a semi-camouflage maybe? But they paint an accent, they use an accent colour that is Martian red. So I use like crimson, to display some sort of fealty or loyalty or allegiance to Mars, homage if you will, which I quite like that. So it's got like the nod to Mars. The reason I decided to do an orange army over a red army is because I painted with red before a little bit, but I've never painted with orange, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I also wanted to do something that wasn't just the standard Mars. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Yeah, there's this little weird computer head thing in here, so I'm going to do orange in there too. So I'm just going to paint this white just very roughly on the top, because I know that we're running out of time now, just to remind me later that that's going to be orange as well. And then there's these bits here on the legs that are also going to be orange. Yeah, so if I did that, that's kind of reminding me where it's all going to be. I might do these weird shield things on the back here as orange. I've already painted it, so maybe I will. And I might paint the feet sections in orange too, but I quite like them being metal, so I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I just need to kind of sit on that idea. Now, we've only got a few minutes really before the end. We're actually at the end of the show, but who cares? Because I've already promised one thing, and I was late. I've been late a couple of weeks now, so we're staying on just for a few more minutes. So, yeah, if there's anything that you want to discuss or talk about or, you know, sing in the live chat, now's your time to say it. Of course, there's always the comment section, which, you know, feel free to use. I read everything, so go for it, right? Let's put that paint away. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my Basilicum Grey. I'm going to find another part of my palette over here. I'm going to give this a shake because it does settle. Contrast paints have like a weird sort of clay base, I think. I don't know, it's very chalky. I'm going to give it a shake and it will start sort of moving away. If it's unshaken, it settles like this at the bottom. Yeah, so you make sure that you get that, whatever that is it part of the medium? There we go. Give it a shake. I'm gonna get a bigger brush. I'm gonna get my size 2 Lush, and it's basically a dark grey, really dark grey, not quite a black. I'm just gonna get a big old blob of it on my paintbrush. Christoulis looks like they're off. See you all next week. Thanks for stopping by, Christoulis. Have a lovely week. Take care. Look after yourself. And update us with photos on Facebook if you're so inclined. See you later, mate. Bye. I'm going to put a big blob of this stuff in the palette there. There we go. I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to wash my brush out so that I know I'm just now adding water. I'm going to just load in a big old drop or two because I put in 2 drops of paint. I want a 50-50 mix of water to Basilicum Grey. And now I'm going to find an area that I really want to apply this to. So I'm going to start with this leg here. I'll work on this foot because it's a really easy, prominent area to see. It stands out by itself, so I can correct it easy if I need to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this liberally. Now, contrast paints, I was saying at the beginning of the show, they very quickly congeal. They form a homogeneous layer. They create a skin very early after painting them, and if you over agitate it with a brush by moving it around too much, like I am now, that skin will start to form. You'll pierce it, I suppose, drag it around, and you'll create awful effects, and you'll be wondering what the heck happened to this wonderful paint scheme that you were trying to paint with a you know, a miracle paint that is contrast paint. It doesn't work that way. You need to like pop it on, make sure you get a good coverage, and it takes a bit of practice. However, when you mix water into it, it breaks that surface tension down. So slap it on. Don't be frightened to work it where you need it to go. It will still have that effect, but you get a bit more time with it. And then if it builds up into like a really big pool, just use the tip of your brush. If it's not got a lot of material in it, you can literally capillary it up. So you can kind of move it from location to location. What I like to do is make sure that it covers everywhere that I want it to. I'm going to need more paint, I didn't have enough. I like to put it everywhere, move it around where I want it to go, and then once I've got it everywhere, I come back in with a dry brush and or a clean brush. I actually like it to be damp, works a bit better. And I can then wick it up and move it around where I see fit, basically. It's important to get your ratio right, especially if you're mixing lots through one model, which I've already done here. Like I've already mixed up a new bit. And Kez was saying that she's got a pot of it pre-mixed that she made earlier on. Now you can use little pipettes to measure it all. That's what I do. Got like a bristle or a hair stuck to the leg there. My paintbrushes are all rolling away. Where is that bristle? I saw it. There it is. Oh, it's a cat hair. Yeah, what would a show be without a cat hair, right? Actually, quite hard to get that hair out of there. Did I get it? I got it. Yeah, excellent. Cool. Just making sure that I get in and around. There we go. Now the paint is starting to dry already, even though it's watered down. So now it's time to go in and wick up those areas. Now I can come in and paint over it with a silver again if I want to, or a quick dry brush, very very light, will just pick out those edges. I don't like dry brushing really, but a tiny dry brush will just enhance those edges. Yeah, there you go. And now you can see already that that's turned that into a really gritty looking metal piece. When you compare that to how the metal started up here or on any other part of that model, you can see how sort of cheap or toyish that colour comes across as. Waiting for it to focus. There we go. Move down to that foot. Looks really cool and quite realistic for such a quick effect. I really like it, and for the simplicity of it, so it's a win-win for me. Interestingly, there's a little bit of scaling that has appeared on the model down here, and I don't know why that is. Yeah, I'm going to now stick it on this whole leg because I've got it mixed up, so I'm just going to let it run all over the place. I don't mind if it goes on the pistons. I'm going to repaint those later on with the really bright aluminium style metal, and it'll really make those pop, especially now that the rest of this metal is going quite dark. I've got quite a bit of paint here mixed up, so I can go in quite heavy. Do this whole leg. I'm just going to move this paint all around, making sure that it's not building up too much. You might want it to build up in some places. I really want it to build up in the deep recesses and in and around those joints to really enhance the appearance there. Make sure that it goes everywhere on that metal piece. I'm not going to get too carried away though. I only want to go this far right now. Super cool, love it. The difference between those two legs. I'll take a photo of this later on, put it up on Facebook so that you can see that for yourselves. Such a quick and easy effect to achieve. Definitely worth having to play with. When I saw that being done on whatever platform it was, whatever show, I was like, that's the thing for me. I've clearly got to have that in my repertoire. I think I might paint these little sensors here on the legs. I might paint those gold, make them come out brassy. Brassy brass. One little bit left to do on top of that thigh joint up there where it's quite obvious I've missed it. There we go. Love it. Wicked. There we go. There we are. Just going to wash my brush out. There we go. Let's come away from here for a minute. Oh, well timed with the music there. Anyway, I've had a cracking evening today. It's been a very, very simple, easy project to do. Been a really nice break from the King Tiger, which I hope to get to next week. All I'm waiting for is some decals. I want to get those decals on the model first before I start doing any of my weathering techniques. My weathering techniques are going to be a little bit of grime, maybe a bit of dirt and rust perhaps. Less is more. It's not a 1/35th scale model, it's not this big, it's still only this big, so I don't need to go crazy with it, but I don't want to do all the weathering effects on it and make it look really gritty and then put fresh and clean decals over the top, because they're just going to look weird and out of place, and that's not what the effect that I want. It will look like the dirty tank's had new numbers painted on it, that will look rubbish. The idea, especially with the dark tones that I've used in the camouflage, I want it to be a dark, quite intimidating looking piece. So just waiting for those to turn up. I've ordered some 28mm Balkenkreuz, which is the Iron Cross that the Germans use. And I've also got a load of turret numbers. The turret numbers, I've gone for the red ones because the Germans used different colours and different styles of painting as time went on through the Second World War period. And the King Tiger, as we know, came out quite late in World War II, and it was the red numbers that came out roughly that sort of time. That's not to say that every King Tiger had red numbers on it. I don't know if they did or not, but I'm fairly certain that with that period, that red numbers would have been used quite a lot on King Tiger, so I thought it would be a nice colour to use on it. So yeah, that's my reason for that. Anyway, I've had a great evening this evening painting this miniature over here. A nice little break. Really looking forward to getting all the colours blocked in on there. And then, like Steve was saying earlier on, it could be quite an intimidating model with the amount of detail. I'm going to try and not be put off by that, and just have a really good shot at it. I don't think there's much in the way of glow effects on there. There's no like plasma coils or anything like that. So I don't think I need to get really kind of bogged down into those sorts of things like I've been doing with the two little miniatures that I've been showing off throughout the show. These little guys here. We're trying to learn the glow effects on their guns, and I just suck at glow effects. So I think I can actually get this model done quite quickly, and it'll be a real nice piece to go along with some of my larger robots, etc. Building up my skills so I can build the bigger and bigger and bigger ones. Just behind me, above this monitor, just up there somewhere, my friend Dave gave me a fully painted Imperial Knight, which is a £100 model, and I just don't want to paint over it because it's done in his style, and it's just a nice thing to have on the side. But I have got some of the smaller ones, that are the Armiger Knights, I think they're called. I've got about 3 of those, and I'm really looking forward to getting to those when I've kind of perfected my approach to painting the smaller models. And that's it, really. Had a lovely week with your company. Thank you very much. As the next few weeks go on, my season is starting to change at work, and I'm hoping that I will be able to carve out 2 hours every Friday as always. But I'm always looking ahead now, making sure that I've got my time allocated correctly. So just in case, just keep your eyes peeled on our platforms on Facebook, on Discord, here on YouTube, obviously, in case I need to alert you to any changes in the programming of my scheduling of the program. In my routine, but hopefully we should still be always good to go on Fridays 7 to 9 as always. In the meantime, if you want to catch up with me or talk to me, Facebook is the place to do it, really, but I read everything, so if you're dropping comments down there, that's cool too. You can come and have a chat with me over on Discord. I'm going to be on Discord tonight after the show. I'm also going to be on Discord tomorrow morning because I'm going to be doing a little bit of gaming tomorrow. If you want to come and join me, you're more than welcome to chat about anything you want. So I'm going to go take a quick 10-minute break to go see my partner, who's been very, very poorly lately. She's probably gone to bed. And then I'm going to come straight back on Discord for the rest of the evening. So I look forward to seeing some of you guys over there later. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, because that would be bloody lovely if you did. I really appreciate that. Thumbs up the video, get chatting in the comments. All hail the algorithm. Let's see if we can get to 170 subscribers before March. It would really, really make my day. It would make February. Thank you very much. Anyway, in the meantime, until next week, keep on painting, stay safe, be kind, and I'll see you soon. Cheers now. Bye-bye. Now to sort out this bloody compressor.